Hi guys, this is Bestially and welcome to another Escape from Tarkov video. Today we have the newest update for page 2 of the Hardcore Wipe Extra Challenge Wipe thingy-majiggy. So we're going to discuss that very briefly. So without further ado, let's crack straight into it. Alright, so just to reiterate from yesterday's video, if you didn't see it, they announced that the Hardcore Wipe will have no flea market. It'll be flea market disabled. Increased item requirements for the hideout zones. Hideout zones don't require found in raid items. So for example, if you were to put them in your bum, you'd be able to still upgrade your hideout if you died. Limited hideout ammo crafts, and then reduced spawn chance of rare loot, which one of the BSG staff members clarified that a little bit more. Now, the latest changes. These are going to get controversial now. Like those ones, fair, I could understand all of that. The big one, restricted location accessibility. Most of the locations will only be accessible through transitions from appropriate locations. For me, personally, I kind of feel like the big killer word here is most. If it said some, I think people would be like, yeah, it's going to be annoying, but that's fair. But most, so my theory is this. It is probably going to be something like you'll have access to Ground Zero, Customs, and maybe Woods. And then you have to go to those 3 maps to transition to Streets, Lighthouse, Shoreline, etc., etc. That's all well and good, but the biggest killer is the loading times. When you have to go into a map to go to another map to load into another map, it's like early wipe, it's usually not too bad. You could get it done in a few minutes for each transition, but later wipe time, like you can get up to 8 minutes matching, right? At 8 minutes, it'll spawn you into a raid. Either you have like a full raid or no one in there. It just starts shoving you into raids at 8 minute mark. This restriction of the actual locations is probably going to be a lot more painful than BSG realize. And I think this is where a lot of the sticking points are. If you actually go to the Twitter post about this, most of the conversations are about this point here. As for the next point being the secure container, restrictions can't store ammo, currency, and certain medicine. So people are going to have to keep their meds out in the actual rig. Ammo is going to have to stay out in the rig, and then also currency. So this is, I think certain medicine might just be like survival kits might stay inside your container. I don't know. But yeah, I think this means that realistically, you're still going to put your LEDXs in your bum. You're still going to put your graphics cards in there. You can use them for the hideout upgrade. So most of that is going to be still well and good. People will be able to get the items that they need and get them out. Limited trader interaction, reduce the range of available medicines, weapon, ammo, and armor. So they're just reducing the amount of stuff you can buy from the traders. And then last but not least, reduced item selling price and increased purchase price. I don't think people realize how painful this is going to be, but depending on how much they make it. So from someone who's played a lot of my own rule set of hardcore in the past, when you are selling, you actually are selling quite a lot just to try and get your either stash upgrades, your containers so you've got more space, and all that kind of stuff. If they reduce it quite considerably, this is going to become very painful. Like I really hope it's only like 10 or 15% they're changing it, not somewhere in the marks of like 25 to 50%, because with everything even being more expensive, like in normal hardcore, I don't actually buy stuff from traders besides containers when I do my playthroughs, but it's just going to, I think, be kind of like a little bit too suffering. Have to wait and see. But just to keep you guys in the loop, this restricted location accessibility thing is going to be really annoying. I think if it said some, like, say, for example, if they made it that, I don't know, streets had to be transitioned into or something. I don't know. Just like 2 or 3 of the maps or labs or something like that. I think that'd be fine. But yeah, I think we're going to run into a lot of upset people for the fact that they're going to get, you know, put on transition screens and then, you know, disconnected and all this other crap. So yeah. I'm going to leave this here. The last thing I did want to point on, there was a lot of comments about this one point that I made during my last video, and I stand by it, where I spoke about how it's going to be a lot harder for the Giga Chads to actually gear up and get to that end game loot. So therefore, it should be a much more even playing field going in. And then people, or there was a fair few comments around this line of kind of a dumb argument. If it's harder for the Sweat Lords, how does that help those who only get a few raids a day? They're doubly fucked. And I've been playing almost daily for 7 years now. So this is the point I'm trying to make. The Sweat Lords don't make up the majority of the player base, particularly early wipe. So there's fewer people who have access to the higher tier stuff. Currently, say 1% of the players who have access to the high tier loot, they buy it all up from the traders and then sell it on the flea market by flipping it. And then more and more traders have access to that gear, and then it snowballs more people up to the end game gear from there. So the people that are like not the super Sweat Lords but just below it get zoomed up as well from buying from the flea market, doing their gunsmith stuff, getting access to that end game loot. And the people sitting in that bracket of like 1 1 to 20 level are really falling further and further behind as the people that have a lot more time zoom further ahead. But I want to make the point that I'm not saying that for months it'll be more level playing field, but for at least the first 2 to 5 weeks, it should be. We saw plenty of evidence of this last wipe with the flea locked for the first 3 weeks. So the last wipe, the flea market was locked for the first 3 weeks. People like me who have nothing to do in their life but play video games, yeah, I got access to max traders. I had a lot of the end game gear and I had the advantage over a lot of people, but I wasn't like the majority of the player base. There was very few people in my situation compared to a lot of people in that middle, like trader level 2 to 3 bracket. And there was a lot of really cool fights happening. Then once the flea market opened up, it was almost like overnight. A lot of players zoomed up to that end game gear and it was just like back to, previous wipes. One thing that does work to our favor, particularly in this point, is prestiging as well. Nikita said there is going to be more prestiges with this wipe. So even the sweat lords like myself, we're all going to be going to try and prestige up to 3, 4, 5, whatever they add. So the longer the wipe goes, the more people are going to prestige. Therefore, it should actually be a fairly good balance overall. But yeah, I can understand people's arguments saying, I don't have time to play. How is this going to be good for me when all the, the no-lifers are going to get access to the gear and I won't have access to the gear because of the flea market? Well, the actual no-lifers are going to actually take a lot longer. Like realistically, we're talking a lot longer. Keys are going to slow people down progression-wise a lot. An absolute lot. So I just thought I'd put that out there. All right, so that's all I've got for this video. Hopefully you guys are excited for this wipe. I think this is going to upset a lot of people. To be honest, I don't like it. I'm going to be very clear. I don't personally like it. I hate loading times. It's the one thing in this game, like cheaters performance loading times. Like that's probably like the tiers of like things that piss me off the most. And having to do more loading times to play on the map that I want to play on is just going to annoy me. So I don't know, maybe I'll come with Ground Zero main. Anyway, like and comment for the YouTube algorithm, notification bell if you want to keep up to date for the latest Tarkov content. Appreciate all you guys subscribing and checking out this content. And lastly, I'll see you next time.